Hello everybody and welcome back to It's a Wonderful Podcast. I'm your host, Nolan Dean, along with my fellow co-host, Morgan Robinson. Today we're going to be taking a little bit of an expedition. I don't really enjoy expeditions, I was always that kid who trailed behind on D&V expeditions, but thankfully my Duke of Edinburgh course did not allow me to go into the Black Lagoon, because as this movie makes me aware, there's some creatures lurking in there.
There is. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to It's a Wonderful Podcast. It is episode 53, and we nearly did it again, Nolan. We nearly did it again. You nearly picked a movie that coincided with the year of release of the episode number 1954, The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
If it wasn't for maths, then this could have been, for reasons if it hadn't been for maths, this could have been our pick next week, but, reasons.
Reasons, Nolan will sadly not be here next week, as we've just found out. But that is all fun, because you know what that means, don't you? That means fun new things. And fun new things are fun and new. But yeah, Creature from the Black Lagoon. You picked this, Nolan, and despite the fact that you might hate going on expeditions because you failed your Duke of Edinburgh orienteering course.
I did not fail it, I just did not enjoy it.
What did you have to do? Did you have to just get stuck in a field somewhere or a forest and just find your way home?
Oh man, that would have been child's play. I had to walk through a fucking desert.
A desert? Oh, mind you, yes, it was.
During pre-summer heat. Miles. Where your water bottle likes to heat up.
Yeah. Sounds unpleasant. I'll just say that.
Very unpleasant.
Very unpleasant in the desert, trying to find your way home. You are a survivor, man, and I commend you for that. Well done.
However, if any of my Duke of Edinburgh friends are listening to this, some of my old buds from high school, I commend you guys for helping me get across it, and I was the first person to reach camp, so suck on that, deserts.
Yeah. If deserts could suck, then they can suck on that fact right there. Creature from the Black Lagoon is a movie that you picked for this week. Why did you pick this one? Did you just fancy doing some monsters?
More or less, but Creature from the Black Lagoon's always kind of fascinated me as a concept because it deals with that kind of fear of the environment and should man really meddle into another creature's territory. It's why I don't go in the ocean. It's why I don't like exploring lakes, because I don't like not knowing what's beneath me, and you know what? I'm happy to just let those creatures roam free and have fun. I don't need to get involved in their business, and neither do fucking humans.
I thought that was Jaws that stopped you from going in the ocean.
Jaws did. Creature from the Black Lagoon probably stopped me from going in black lagoons, but why is anyone going into a black lagoon?
I don't imagine there are many black lagoons in Glasgow.
Oh no. Well, depends. The River Clyde's looking quite grim today. That doesn't have any creatures, just dead bodies.
Yeah, there could be any sorts of creatures in the Clyde. Not
like Glaswegians.
Dead Glaswegians.
Just alive Glaswegians.
Alive Glaswegians swimming with nothing on. Scotland, ladies and gentlemen. Scotland.
But, even though I don't partake in that in real life, I've always been fascinated by the sort of spooky lagoon location. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm really frustrated that I don't like Friday the 13th, because I think the idea of Camp Crystal Lake sounds very fascinating. I just think those movies are garbage.
You do think those movies are garbage. You are a renowned hater of Friday the 13th. But what about Swamp Thing? Because Swamp Thing is kind of similar.
Swamp Thing is another reason I picked this, because we just saw that trailer from DC Universe. Swamp Thing's another kind of thing that I like. But as I understand from those comics, it's more of like a sort of Lovecraftian Romeo and Juliet kind of thing going on there.
Yeah, I mean, Swamp Thing is a very sort of... It's an environmental, positive kind of being, kind of tale in its whole thing. I guess Creature from the Black Lagoon is that as well, because it
It's
is.
probably the intro for that kind of
It,
stuff. I mean, you've seen so many versions of Creature from the Black Lagoon that aren't Creature from the Black Lagoon.
yeah, just some sort of random monster in some sort of territory that human beings can go into and disrupt the natural order of things. That's essentially what's going on. There's nothing complex. There's nothing complex about any of the Universal monster movies. This is perhaps the simplest, in the sense that it is just a group of scientists going into the Amazon, where the creature lives, the Gill Man, and they just
Which
disrupt.
I know you find hilarious, actually, because you think the Gill Man looks silly.
I think the Gill Man. No, I think it looks okay. I don't think it looks silly. I think he looks good. It's just that there's a weird situation with the Creature from the Black Lagoon as being compared to the rest of the Universal monsters. I think it's because it came out so much later than the rest of them. Like when you think about it, I don't want to say origin movies, but the sort of original movies with the original monsters there. You've got your Draculas, your Frankensteins, Invisible Mans, stuff like that, the Mummy. Then you've got the Wolfman in 1941, and then you have to wait another 13 years for Creature from the Black Lagoon.
It's not so much as horror-based as the rest of
It
them,
really
I
isn't.
don't think.
It really isn't. There's hardly any. There's nothing really like that. It is more of. I don't even know. It's more like a low-key sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's definitely got more to do with that. Although it's like, do they ever really explain the science from the Creature from the Black Lagoon? Because it kind of just exists. They don't really question it.
It's the whole thing of like, there's quite a bit to do with sort of evolution and the way different things have evolved or not evolved, and some creatures are, so far remote from everything else that they haven't evolved since prehistoric times, and then you have human beings who have done this sort of thing, and the characters are always, talking about that because they're all like marine biologists, which is the very reason they're in the Amazon in the first place, to search the river and find species. They happen upon the Black Lagoon. They happen upon the creature because I think the lead scientist has found some sort of fossilized thing.
He's 100%
somewhere.
like, when you think lead scientist leading an expedition, he's 100% what you think they look like.
Yeah, I mean,
traditionally handsome, very.
I think that's another kind of unusual thing that I found about Creature from the Black Lagoon, is that it doesn't have a leading star. Like usually in again, you can go through the Universal monster movies, right? You've got Lugosi, Karloff, whether it's Claude Rains, Lon Chaney Jr. You've got all these people.
And here you have a guy in a suit.
Here, I mean, yes, the star is the monster again, because the Gill Man really is the star of the thing. But you don't know. I don't know who plays the Gill Man. Do you know who plays the Gill Man?
No, and I think going on further, like I stated before, all the things that have been inspired by Creature from the Black Lagoon usually have added to this kind of mythology and developed it. Like, you think Doug Jones in The Shape of Water,
Yeah.
That's basically Del Toro's version of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Absolutely is.
Even stuff like, I don't know if you ever watched Kim Possible when you were younger.
I remember it being a thing, but no, not really.
But there was a villain in that called Gil, literally Gil with one L, and his real name was just Gil.
Okay.
Voiced by Reese from Malcolm in the Middle, who was a teenager that went swimming in a lake and then got mutated into a Creature from the Black Lagoon kind of thing.
Okay.
And it delved in the same kind of thing, but it's more comedic based there.
Yeah.
But even stuff like, I feel like if they were to make a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie now, it might be better than this one.
Yeah, I do as well. I don't go back to Creature from the Black Lagoon so much because it is kind of, because it is so different to the others. It is obviously considered a Universal monster movie, but it's very much not horror based.
No, I think that's to do with the 50s though, because that was when more sci-fi horror was starting to come out, like The Fly and
Definitely
things like that.
definitely, and I'm not discrediting the movie for that. It actually has many different wonderful messages in it. This one about this whole preserving of nature, and should man, interrupt the natural order of things? Should the perils of too much exploration or
Here's the
anything
answer:
like
they
that?
shouldn't. Just leave them alone.
But it is, it's very much saying that sort of stuff, which is so different to what the other monster movies say. It's so different to what they say, because you look at Frankenstein, it's like, don't play God.
Yeah.
Dracula, I don't know what Dracula's saying. He's just
Don't fall in love with strangers.
But
Stranger danger.
I just think this movie was Universal's way of sort of, the 50s are here. There's other studios now. They're making these sci-fi movies, these kind of very moral focused sci-fi movies. We should do the same, and let's sort of call it and link it kind of to all those movies we made in the 30s that were really good and made us a lot of money.
Yeah, because it's not based on any pre-existing material like
No.
the others, is it?
No, let's make it a. It is, and that's the thing as well, is that it's kind of wholly original. So they've got nothing to play off. Like even with the Wolfman, they have werewolf lore to play off.
Mm-hmm.
But this, it is completely original, and it's why I keep saying it's kind of an unusual movie in the whole series of the Universal monster movies. But I think it's a great sci-fi movie. I think it's a great moral tale.
You do need a movie like this, I think, in a series like the Universal Monsters series, because you don't want them to all kind of blend into the same thing, or like the same formula.
Yeah,
And
that's very true.
for this one to take that chance, I mean, I'll commend them for, like, could you imagine if a studio now decided that they were going to create a wholly original monster that you'd never seen before? Because even when they announce that they're going to do that, it's usually taking inspiration from so many other monsters that it kind of feels like a Frankenstein of monsters itself.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
Like, even things like Colossal, which is very original, it's just kind of a comedic take on kaiju monsters.
Yeah, I mean the 50s is the time for all this. I mean the main thing to do with the 50s was obviously the radiation, and everything was huge. All the monsters were huge.
Oh yeah, huge and hilarious. I've seen some of those really bad ones.
But also, you do have the more moral-focused ones, the more political-focused sort of sci-fi movies, whether it's alien stuff like Day the Earth Stood Still, which is very political, and you wouldn't think it without watching it. You'd think it was just an invasion movie if you didn't pay that much attention, but it's so very far from that. And this movie, where on the surface you might look at it as, oh, what's this? Some sort of scary creature feature with a, silly looking fish person who attacks a load of people. And yeah, on the surface, okay, it's a creature feature about a gill person that attacks a load of people. But it's this moral tale of, don't come into my home and start messing things up.
I mean, I hate when people do that now. My mum's going to come into my room this weekend and probably change everything. Stay away from my Black Lagoon, Mom.
But it is that. It's kind of, I don't know whether it's saying know your limits as a species in terms of exploration, but it's just, or it's this sort of cautionary tale of, if you go in to this place, the Amazon, and just start prodding around and taking stuff and for all your little experiments to further yourself. It's, be conscious of the species living there. This is the same with any sort of environmental issue. There are species living there that you have to be aware of. You have to you can do things, but just make sure they're okay as well, because they're the ones that are there. You have come in and you have disrupted the whole ecosystem.
and compare that to something like, further on, like stuff like Jaws. It's not about them going into the shark's territory, it's the shark coming towards them.
Exactly, it's flipped completely around. And that is why Jaws is way more of a horror movie, because if the creature from the Black Lagoon came to New York City, madness, it'd be great.
Oh, God. Well, he might just get mistaken for one of the New Yorkers.
Yeah.
They'll just invite him into a nightclub.
That's cruel. What do you have against New Yorkers? That they all look like fish people. Oh, I
don't know. They love avocados too much.
Well, that's Californians. New Yorkers would be offended about that. New York, anyone in New York listening, please attack Nolan on the Twitter.
Unless you're my dream agent living in New York, I'm sorry.
Yeah. See, you can't be saying these mean things. You can't be doing it.
Oh, God.
Are you dying now?
Yes.
You're dying now.
That comment's making me die. But the thing that I think this movie gets praised on the most, which rightly so, it's all the underwater scenes.
Absolutely.
Because, as we know from the production of Jaws, filming underwater is not an easy task. Even James Wan used water tanks. He wasn't filming Aquaman in the actual ocean, thankfully. But, tech allows him to create a whole world and stuff like that. But back then, they had to actually go underwater and film these things. And you're thinking all these stunt performers probably can hold their breath for 10 minutes. But you think they have to... I was thinking of the process of how they shot a certain sequence where the creature's swimming underwater. Mm-hmm. And he's in a goddamn suit. So that's got to make it harder to breathe. And, if something goes wrong, then you guys are fucked.
Look, I'm sure all the safety precautions that were necessary were taken. But yeah, like you, commend the people that were doing that. Commend the stuntmen and the actors, especially the guy in the Gill Man suit, who it probably was very heavy, I can imagine. Yeah. And yeah, credit to him. It's a real shame I don't actually know his name. I'm gonna look up.
You look up his name. I'll see if I can mention a few things.
His name, because it's really good. Is there any sort of standout scenes of this movie to you?
I think when he first shows up and you see the hand coming into the tent, it's probably the scariest scene in the movie.
That's fair.
It's just like the Jaws effect. You don't show the shark; they only show the hand and then a shaking tent and a terrified dude in the tent.
Yeah, you don't actually see the Gillman fall for quite a while. It's quite unusual in that way. Again, with the Universal monsters, in that Dracula shows up at the start. Frankenstein's monster shows up essentially at the start. Invisible Man at the start.
Well, does Invisible Man show up at the start? Can you see him?
It's a very, very, very fair point. That's a very fair point.
See for that remake of the Invisible Man, just get John Cena to play him.
Oh, here you are. You had two people playing the Gill Man. One who played him on land and one who played him in water.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that.
And the guy who had to swim with the costume on was called Rico Browning. And Ben Chapman played just the dude who would stand on the land and go swipe his hands like this in a very Scooby-Doo monster fashion.
Well done, lads. You guys did a good job.
I mean, yeah, I can't say that this. I can't say that I absolutely, honestly love this movie. I think it's a good movie, and like I said before, I think it's a good cautionary tale. I think it's got a great message to it. But in terms of whether it's just such a simple movie, I don't know, or whether it's because it's missing that real stellar acting performance that the rest of them have. I mean, you look at Frankenstein; it has like 3 really good acting performances. Bride of Frankenstein has like 4. Dracula has at least 2 or 3. Invisible Man, okay, 1, but it's really good.
Yeah.
The Mummy has a couple, but this is, and obviously it's about the creature. And again, we're going into the 50s. It's sci-fi. It's about these creatures that we don't know exist. And like I said, whether that's from the Godzilla side of things and radiation awakening something, or exploration into somewhere different, because they make a point of saying in the movie that like we are on the fringes of space exploration and we are, not quite certain whether there is life on other planets. There may be, but shouldn't we find the life that we don't know is on our own planet first? And they make this whole big situation about all that.
It's the arrogance of man, really, and
It is.
That theme is present, but I don't think it's explored as well as it should be. Like, this is the only Universal monster movie where I could see a remake being beneficial and probably necessary. It's like, when people were going on about, oh, why does there have to be an It remake? The 1990s It is like something that could and should be remade because, they can do it better now. I think Creature from the Black Lagoon is one of those stories.
Well, you brought up Shape of Water before. Do you not think Shape of Water is just a modern Black Lagoon?
I mean, I guess, but it's more a different take on Black Lagoon. Like, it's completely different.
It's completely different. Obviously, it's a romance story above anything else. But what the Shape of Water I think did really well was, it's sort of an embracing of, I don't want to say interspecies love, but it's an embracing of
love for the sake of love,
of being oneself, and it's an embracing of loving who and what you love. You can't help that. It's this whole thing, and the fish man, whatever they call him. What do they call him? Do they call him the amphibian man?
They call him Gill Man.
No, in Shape of Water.
In Shape of Water, they just say the creature, I think.
Okay.
But even then, Shape of Water has those kind of things that you think could be great in a Creature from the Black Lagoon film, like that great villain performance from Michael Shannon.
Right. All
the supporting actors who are even given arcs of their own, which is great, and because the creature effects and the makeup and the prosthetics look a lot better.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you straight up remade Creature from the Black Lagoon now, I imagine the Gill Man would look almost exactly like the amphibian man from Shape of Water. But like I said, what I think Shape of Water did really well was it brought different things, different beings together really well. Whereas what I think Creature from the Black Lagoon does is separate them and think some things should be separate,
Yeah.
And again, I think Shape of Water really worked in this modern sense where, as a society, we're kind of struggling with accepting of everybody, and we just should, which is what the Shape of Water is saying. Whereas Black Lagoon is very much like, okay, we're going a bit too far. We're going a bit too far with all this exploration stuff. We're getting too cocky with ourselves. This may happen. Bad things may happen if you carry on doing this. That's what the
That's
Black
where
Lagoon
the
is.
ending of Black Lagoon kind of annoys me a bit.
Yeah, me too.
Because even though they bring that up, that theme's never confronted, it's never answered. None of the humans ever really feel remorse for what they do. I mean, you get a little sense that the lead expedition guy is like, okay, he's had enough, just leave him alone. But they straight up fucking kill the thing.
Yeah.
It's really depressing to watch. You came into this creature's territory. He rightfully responded like, get the fuck out of my territory. And then you trap him. You are pissed when he escapes. And then you shoot him twice in the chest.
Yeah. Look,
you shouldn't have been messing with this in the first place, you arrogant fucks.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Don't go into a forest and you don't walk into the woods now and see a deer and then just think, screw you, deer, I live here now, and shoot the deer. You don't just do it.
It's one of the reasons I hate hunting.
You don't... look, you don't do it. But yeah, I completely agree, and I get why they had to, because look, okay, it's a simple movie, it's supposed to be a creature feature movie. You have to have some sort of battle, right? If it was this purely moral tale, then it would actually feel very similar to Day the Earth Stood Still, where there's kind of no action at all.
Which is why I think Shape of Water kind of improves upon it, because it doesn't treat the creature like it's a villain.
Precisely.
It has Michael Shannon there, being this guy who wants to feel like he's God.
Precisely. I think
it's so satisfying when the creature just slashes his throat.
Look, if there was one character, if there was a single character in Black Lagoon who was just like, oh, wait a minute, is this wrong what we're doing? Then it would be so much better.
I'm surprised it wasn't the woman, to be honest, because they were sort of setting it up as like, this woman is innocent and the creature loves her, but she never really brings up that kind of thing. I don't know if it's just a lack of writing on that part, or they were just looking for a...
That's exactly what it is. It's simplistic writing. They're just looking for a little bit of action at the end. They're not looking... They bring up the questions that we've talked about here. They bring up these morals, but they never act on them.
Yeah, it's weird.
They stop after like an hour and 10 minutes to say, okay, fight scene, yeah.
It's the equivalent of saying something like Green Book is solving racism.
Yeah. Well, a bit different, but...
A bit different, but a similar kind of thing. They bring up all these things,
saying.
But the characters never really challenge their own moral beliefs or anything. They just go about their day and that's it.
I get what you're saying completely. They do. And the female lead in the movie is there for no reason at all other than to be sort of a woman for the monster to go after.
Yeah, whereas in Shape of Water, she's a fully fleshed out character.
Shape of Water, obviously. Like I said, it's why I love Shape of Water so much. And screw y'all who hate Shape of Water. Because you can't deal with fish people. Okay, just be gone with you.
People still call it the fish banging movie.
They do. And it is that. It is that. But it is also, you love who you love, Nolan.
I know, but you know, that kind of frustrates me, because it's like, that's how Brokeback Mountain became just the gay cowboy movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And they ignore everything else that's in it.
Which
With
they
Creatures
shouldn't.
in the Black Lagoon, it's a frustrating watch because I can see all the great ideas and concepts are there.
Yeah.
It's just like they're refusing to play with them. It's like the equivalent of someone who buys toys or books and doesn't read them, but he just has them for show purposes.
Are you taking a dig at me?
No.
Who buys all these books, but is so slow at reading, he doesn't read them.
Yeah, but you at least read them. You don't buy them with the extent of saying, hey, look at how much of these books I've got, and aren't I smart?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, I don't do that. Sometimes I do.
And I guess with the toy metaphor, I can see why people would buy stuff and not like play with it, because some of them are just meant to be collectibles. But you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. You're making an analogy to the having things there but not using them.
Yes.
And that's exactly what Black Lagoon does. And it is a shame because it makes it a worse movie for it. I think
Yeah.
the other Universal monster movies, they tackle their subject matter kind of well.
Yeah,
Because
like The Mummy does it really well.
the
Invisible Man does it so well.
and Frankenstein obviously does it really
Frankenstein.
well.
And I believe Phantom of the Opera does it pretty well too.
I haven't seen Universal's Phantom of the Opera. I haven't
I just
seen
mean the story
with,
in general.
Oh, the story. Yeah, the story in general is. I'd like to do Phantom of the Opera one day.
That would be great.
I'd like
Although
to do
which
that
one
one.
would we pick? Because there's that more iconic one.
Yeah,
Chaney.
I'd have to go the silent one. I'd have to go the Lon Chaney one from 25. Anyway,
it's a big shame because I love the concept of A Creature from the Black Lagoon so much, and I'm so frustrated that they never went as far as they should have. It felt like they just played it safe because they wanted a little monster feature that could have made some dollar, more or less.
It is exactly what they did. It doesn't 100% come across as a cash grab from the. It's the mid-50s. We're making sci-fi movies now. Sci-fi, yay! Sci-fi. We money. It's not 100% that, but it's a little bit.
It's not. The thing is, it's not even a bad movie per se. There
Oh,
are
no, it's
worse
not at
monster
all.
movies that came out in that time. I've
Oh,
seen
of
one
course
where a
there are.
fucking giant bird shows up and it's ridiculous.
Isn't that the was it the giant claw or something like that?
Oh yeah,
Or
it's,
is it like the flying big turkey thing? I don't know. It's all ridiculous.
it's ridiculous.
Uh,
Creature from the Black Lagoon is not that, but it's a different kind of frustration where it brings up all these themes. It wants commendation for doing all this, asking questions, but itself never answers them or even attempts to approach them. It's just like having them there for show.
It's got them there, and it resorts to just, we need some action in this movie. Throw some action in at the end, and then the movie's over. Oh, okay, that was good. I enjoyed
One positive
that.
thing we haven't brought up, I think the score is excellent.
Yeah. But the music often tends to be good, or in some occasions the lack of music.
Yeah.
In many occasions, actually, the lack of music in the Universal monster movies is great. Really gives you that atmosphere, eeriness feel of just silence and noise. But yeah, I do like the score. The score brings it to its sort of action elements. It brings those in a bit more. It does make it feel a little bit of a generic 50s sci-fi movie, but it still does have at its core those questions, and it's still a Universal monster movie. It's still a monster movie made by Universal, so I'm not allowed to not like it.
I don't hate it, I'm just frustrated by it. It's a love-hate thing. I hate that this movie doesn't go as far as it should have done.
Yeah.
But I also can't look down at how great the technical achievements are, how great the monster itself looks. Some of the locations look amazing.
Look, as a technical achievement, it's fantastic. Like you said, the Gilman itself, honestly, it's great practical effects for the time. It's a really good suit. It's the best suit. It's the best prosthetic suit you're gonna get of the time. I'm reminded of, again, for some reason, not that it's got anything to do with it, I'm reminded again of The Day the Earth Stood Still. And Gort is, I think, the big 7.5 foot tall robot in that, who is just a silver tank. He's just a box. Well, he's not a box, but he's just the most plain grey robot you have ever seen in your life. You think of the reminds me actually of War of the Worlds that we did quite a while ago, where the aliens in War of the Worlds looked really good. They look really good, and that's again a technical achievement of sci-fi in the 50s. And this little more low-key, less actiony, a little bit different in terms of its messages because it's kind of environmental. It is it's an environmental positive film for the most part, except from when they just kill him at the end, which will frustrate us till the day we die, I'm sure, like we've said.
Yeah, because he's not like a ravenous creature like, say, the shark from Jaws or any crocodile movie that you see. He's just a guy kind of defending his territory.
Yeah.
Like, I wish even if he got shot, I wish the final shot of the movie was just him swimming away and then them fucking off, because the guy does show a bit of remorse at the end.
He does, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me.
I think it's because at this time, it was a very conservative Hollywood. They might have been annoyed if the humans were shown to be the real monsters.
You could definitely look at it that way. I didn't think about that. That's a good point, because I think there's a reason that as soon as the studio system, the corporate studio system leaves Hollywood in the late 60s, you get all the horror movies that show people to be horrible.
Yep.
Rather than monsters or, fantasy beings, whoever it else is. Because it's then all the filmmakers actually coming up saying, nah, we can do what we want now. We're not contractually obliged to do anything. We can call you all horrible and get away with it and make the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, yeah, thanks.
That's such a dirty feeling.
Thanks, Toby Hooper.
This movie would have been improved by one thing. It's a lagoon.
It is a lagoon. It is a lagoon. There's you could, I suppose, next to the lagoon might be a bit of swampland or a bit of marshland, maybe a swamp.
I reckon Shrek and the creature would have been pretty good mates. Just like neighbours.
Yeah, definitely. They each stick to their own thing. Shrek himself, very protective of his own land. Doesn't want anyone invading his own land. The whole first movie is based around that concept of Shrek doing what it takes to get his own land back, and the creature from the Black Lagoon should join him on the quest to save Fiona.
Can you imagine if the first Shrek movie ends with Shrek dying and Farquaad being the hero?
It's the same situation. Which is why Shrek's great, because Shrek is so subversive. Do you reckon Shrek gets a lot? Do you reckon Shrek and all the creature get along with Swamp Thing?
I reckon they all go to poker games on Wednesdays.
I reckon they're a great trio. I reckon they're a fantastic swampy trio, and they should be committed. Are you going to check out the DC's Swamp Thing?
I might. I did check out some of Doom Patrol last week, and that was pretty good. Okay. So I'm curious to see what this kind of thing does.
I haven't watched Doom Patrol yet, but I really like Titans. So
I haven't seen any of Titans yet, but it is on Netflix, so I will watch it eventually.
Titans was good, and I'm excited for season 2 of Titans as well, because Ian Glenn is playing an older Bruce Wayne, and that just pleases me.
And they've also got Deathstroke on there, and from what I heard, they cast the transgender activist as Deathstroke's son. That'll be interesting to see.
I didn't know about that, but fair enough. Fighting the good fight, DC. Well done. I'm sure the Swamp Thing series will be very environmental.
I mean, James Wan's part of that, so it's going to have a lot of these Lovecraftian gothic vibes as well.
Perfect. Have you ever seen Wes Craven's Swamp Thing from 1983, I believe?
I think ages ago, but I don't remember anything from it.
It's not good. This Creature from the Black Lagoon is a better movie than that.
Congratulations, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
It's a way.
Despite your troubles, you are better than Wes Craven's Swamp Thing.
Wes Craven's Swamp Thing is it's a weirdly boring movie. That's confusingly it's a confusingly boring movie. It doesn't make sense why it would be.
Wes Craven is usually making really fun, fast-paced movies, isn't he?
The year later, he made Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, so this is before Elm Street.
This is before Elm Street. This is before Elm Street. This is when he was still a little bit weird, a little bit like dark. In the 70s, Wes Craven was making Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes, which are great. They are, but they are two of the grimmest films you're ever likely to watch. Then he decided to make Swamp Thing, a very, very early comic book movie, in 1983.
But how does that tie in with the Justice League?
It doesn't.
And Flashpoint and
and the Cyborg movie.
And the Cyborg movie and the Green Lantern movie.
It's actually set in the future from those, and
I can't wait for the time
because tie back around. The spirit of Wes Craven will rise up, as we all believe he should, and do it again.
I cannot wait for the time when, I mean, it's happening with Ang Lee's Hulk now. People are looking back on it and kind of commending the good parts of it. Is that going to happen for Wes Craven's Swamp Thing?
No. No, because Ang Lee's Hulk, for all its weirdness, isn't boring. Swamp Thing's just boring. It looks weird. But it's Black Lagoon. Creature from Black Lagoon is the better movie. Even though we are frustrated with the movie. It's a better
movie. I would say it's the weakest of the Universal monster movies. At least the main ones.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, you can go to the stupid ones and
Son of Uncle Frankenstein.
Abbott and Costello meet the Wolfman minus Dracula plus several mummies and one talking head.
I'm afraid to check out those sequels.
I mean,
they seem ridiculous.
You can go a little bit into them. It's just once you get too far, they become silly. And obviously, with the Abbott and Costello stuff, they become a parody of themselves, which can be fun. But it makes you just want to watch Frankenstein again.
The only sequel I'll be checking out from Universal Monsters will be Bride of Frankenstein.
Well, watch Son of Frankenstein as well. That's a good one.
Oh God,
Son of Frankenstein's good.
I hope it's better than Seed of Chucky.
I don't know. I haven't seen Seed of Chucky.
That movie's weird.
Like Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Wes Craven's Swamp Thing, and The Shape of Water. And it's fair to say, out of those three, we like The Shape of Water
the most. I own The Shape of Water on Blu-ray. It looks gorgeous.
I own Swamp Thing. I don't own The Shape of Water, and I don't even own Creature from the Black Lagoon, but you can be damn sure I own Wes Craven's Swamp Thing.
Oh man. Well, I have a Universal box set, so it's just on there.
Yeah.
Along with Phantom of the Opera and some of the other ones I haven't seen.
Still, I want to do Phantom of the Opera. It can be whatever Phantom of the Opera, not the stupid one with Gerard Butler, because it's also.
Oh yeah.
Recent.
Well, anything with Gerard Butler, I don't really want to watch, to be honest, unless it's How to Train Your Dragon.
Or 300.
Even 300, I'm not really a big fan of.
It's cool though.
It's too toxic masculinity-ish for me.
It's got Lena Headey.
Fair enough. But you'll notice, audience of this show, we have been talking a lot about monsters.
Yeah, we've had a nice monstery episode.
Did you know, Morgan, that there is a big monster movie coming out next May?
No. Yes, I did.
Our friend Godzilla is going to be fighting King Ghidorah, Mothra, Rodan, and then Millie Bobby Brown is going to come in and save the day.
Yeah, for some goddamn stupid reason.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm quite excited for that. I love the director, Mike Doherty. Did Trick or Treat. Did a great story.
I liked Kong Skull Island. I went and saw that. It was a good movie. It
It's
was like it was
silly,
a
but
good
yeah.
it was a good monster movie. Like the characters were terrible, but King Kong himself was great.
True. But
Um,
Godzilla has
Godzilla,
some decent characters
the
in it.
same kind of thing. Like the characters, okay, but Godzilla's great.
But Godzilla King of the Monsters looks like it's taking a different take on monsters. Instead of just the whole let's have them fight each other, it seems to be focusing on like the beauty of them, which intrigues me.
I mean, I haven't seen any trailers for it, but I, I,
The
you know,
visuals look amazing.
I'm not against this movie. I'm quite like for this movie. I might go and see this movie, because I do like Godzilla and stuff like that. And him, I don't know if it's him fighting everybody, but it's him definitely being with all the other ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Millie Bobby Brown's there just being adorable like she always is.
Yeah, but I want Godzilla to fight his own battles. He doesn't need 11.
Fair enough. I reckon she'll just be a kid who likes monsters.
Oh.
And it'll be very meta because Stranger Things.
Yeah, pointing to the sky. What's that? Oh, it's Godzilla. Oh, okay. Run.
It's a Godzilla.
It's a Demi-Godzilla. Demigod Godzilla.
Oh god, I don't want to imagine that. A Godzilla with like 5 flaps of his mouth. No.
Demigod Godzilla.
If any of our friends are artists, maybe you could draw that weird thing up.
The
Demigorgon Godzilla.
The Demigod Godzilla. Yes.
It can be Shrek's new partner.
You can also draw a Gorgon itself, just Medusa, and then I'll be happy.
True. But the reason we've been talking about that is because you might remember we do theme stuff. We did Musical March.
We did. It was very fun.
We did Westerns in January,
which
for some reason.
Yeah, I just wanted to do Westerns and I forced you to watch them and it was fun.
Morgan just wanted to do Westerns. I want to talk about monsters, but not just Universal monsters.
Oh.
For all of May, we can be looking at stuff like Godzilla, the original King Kong, maybe even Them. Maybe the weird Fly movie with Vincent Price.
I'm not
that.
Look, I love Vincent Price.
Probably not that.
I love Vincent Price. I just stick with Jeff Goldblum.
Point is, if it's released before 1960 and it has a
70.
monster in it, or 70, we might just do that.
Yeah.
But there will be no ridiculous flying turkeys like in the Giant Claw.
Who says I'm not choosing the Giant Claw? When does the Giant Claw come out? Searchy, search.
I know it comes out at a certain time, and you're just gonna pick it to spite me.
1957. Bring on the Giant Claw. Yes. Yes, but yeah, monster movies, and we will generally stick to the good ones, but I might actually suggest we do the Giant Claw. May, does that start next week, even though you're not here? Or should we save it?
What's the date today?
There are 5 Fridays in May. Should we save it for when you are back? For when you are back on the show for the next week, which we still have then 4 Fridays of
we'll figure something out.
Monster May.
Ugh, I hate April and May's days. They're so confusing.
Yeah. But no, that's going to be fun. It's to tie in, like no one said, with Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Why the hell not talk about a bunch of monster movies? It's kind of a thing we don't really do. We tend to stick to whether it's
film and the art.
Yeah.
Film.
We don't go into like the slightly silly movies.
And I just want to do that. I want to see giant ants killing people.
Yeah. Them, I mean, we've got to watch Them. I've never seen Them, and I want to watch
It always
them.
comes up on, like, notable B-movie monsters.
What about The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms?
I'd like the name of that.
They all have wonderful names. They all have such good names. It came from outer space.
The Guardians of the Galaxy?
Other...
Just imagining a monstrous Chris Pratt.
Other ones we'll find some to talk about, and it will
But
be
they won't be the
great.
obvious ones.
Apart from Godzilla. Should we not just do Godzilla?
I mean, Godzilla probably.
I feel like we should just... Well, I should say Gojira, to use the proper Japanese term.
I know Rodan and Mothra have their own films. Does King Ghidorah have one?
I don't know. I don't know enough about the whole situation there. Hey guys, Morgan here. Sorry for this very awkward and very unfortunate interjection, but there was a technical issue with the audio file on my end at the end of this week's episode, as you've just heard, talking about the creature from the Black Lagoon. Sadly, the last 10 minutes of my audio file on my end is completely silent and completely unusable, which is a great shame, because we always like to bring you the best quality of content, and it is incredibly frustrating when technical glitches such as this deny us from doing that. But we thought it was best to release the episode in its almost complete form, because thankfully it is just cutting off the last 10 minutes. You still have a full 50-minute episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast for your enjoyment, and I hope you did enjoy it. I apologise that it has to end in this kind of awkward, unusual, and a particular way that I certainly hope it doesn't have to end in again. Yes, that is all I will say on that. Make sure you follow Nolan on social media at NolanDean27. Follow me at the Purple Dom with a 3 instead of the E in there, because 3 is the magic number, even though I'm a little sad about the whole technical glitch situation. But hell, sometimes you can't get over those things. But yes, follow the podcast as well at It's a Wonderful One for all the good stuff there, include, more from this show, more from Morgan Hasn't Seen with me and Janine, and stay tuned for our discussion on Morgan Hasn't Seen on Avengers Endgame, which will be up next Wednesday. It will be spoiler filled, but you will be well aware right from the start of that it will be. So yes, that is all that's coming up here. Like I said, follow us on all those, and subscribe and download as always on all the podcast providers you can find this on. If you leave your 5-star rate and reviews on Apple Podcasts, that really helps us out. I hope that you understand that technical glitches do sometimes happen, unfortunately, and precautions will be taken in the future to make sure that they don't happen again. But I don't want to say they won't happen again, because sometimes things just don't go according to plan. But I certainly hope that we can continue to bring you the best quality of content possible. Yes, so thank you, of course, as always, for listening. And Nolan isn't here to see us out, so I'm going to have to do it instead. So I will just say yes. Again, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for being understanding of the technical problems that can sometimes happen. And until next time, goodbye, guys.